Right. Good morning, everybody. Today we're going to take a look at a Character Strong lesson, which is lesson 5, all about snap judgments. So I'm going to make this screen a little bit bigger and we'll go through this today. Shouldn't take a ton of time. I don't really have anything extra for you guys to do other than encourage you to look in Skyward, look at your grades for your classes, make sure you're on top of everything for the week, make sure you've done everything you need to do. Or at least you have a plan to do it by its due date. But also, if there's a grade that doesn't look you're not super happy about because the end of the semester is coming up in about 2 weeks, make sure you've got a plan in place to either contact the teacher today or tomorrow at the latest. Figure out what you have to do to kind of boost that grade up, at least to passing, if not higher. You definitely want to get credit for this semester. So if you're not sure, which questions to ask, who to reach out to, what to do, just email me something just saying, hey, these are my concerns. I'm not sure what to do. And I'd be happy to point you in the right direction. So Character Strong, again, lesson 5 is all about snap judgments. So one way to think about this is if something happens in your life, all of a sudden, I don't know, somebody is rude or disrespectful to you, an event happens that you weren't expecting. Basically, how do you react to those things? So the first thing is identify whether your snap judgment would be positive or negative based on different events. As I'm going through this, of course, I'm kind of reflecting on me and how I would react. And I would say that's true, based on the event that happens. Depending on if it's positive or negative, my reaction would definitely be different. Reflect on how others might respond with different emotions to the same experience. What reminds me of something, what that speaks to me about is Swan and I, right? People know Mr. Swan. He's another math teacher at Timberline. We'll be going to lunch. We go to McConey sometimes and grab sandwiches, and we'll be driving there. We'll be coming back to Timberline, and all of a sudden somebody like pulls out in front of us and cuts us off. And Mr. Swan and I are two different people that react differently. I get angry and maybe share my emotions with the person, maybe roll down my window and say something, or maybe show them that they're number one, or I don't know. And then Mr. Swan will be like, what happens if, their dog just died and they're going over to the vet to see them or something like that, right? So obviously I react with anger. Mr. Swan tries to react with sympathy. We both were introduced to the same situation. So it's kind of interesting how, you react differently. So if we were in class, we could do one of these things. This is like Deck of Destiny. We've done picture prompts. Let's see. Let's do one of these picture prompts, and I'll just do one since I'm here. So let's do 9B. Let's see what this is. So the idea behind this, hopefully, if we get back to school and we're doing these types of activities, you throw up a picture, you kind of give like a quick 15 to 30-second explanation on what this kind of what this speaks to you about. This picture gives me anxiety. I'm not a heights person. I don't even like I don't put second story Christmas lights on our house because I just don't like going that high up in the air. So this balloon kind of looks cool. When I look up to this second balloon that's, up more in the distance, that gives me a lot of stress just sitting in a basket, hoping that a hole doesn't go inside that balloon. So, all right. Let's go back. So again, when we get back together, if we do one of these activities during a Tuesday lesson, I'll kind of prompt you guys to see if anybody wants to participate. So now we're going to get into the lesson. How do we make emotions? We've talked a little bit about some of this. You might even see some symbols or some pictures throughout this slideshow that look familiar. We have discussed emotions and reactions and things like that in the past. So this kind of piggybacks on that type of thing. So when an event occurs, your brain almost instantly evaluates whether what happened is good or bad for you, right? I think that's, over time and hundreds and thousands of years or whatever, Cavemen, right? They had to decide if a tiger coming after them was a good thing or bad thing. Do they sit there and pet it, or do they run? So over time, over evolution, these types of instant decisions have been made. This is called a snap judgment, which causes an emotion. This whole process happens very fast. We don't even control it, but we can choose what we do next. So, for example, I'll go back to Mr. Swan and I going to lunch. Some person cuts me off on the road. So my snap judgment is to get angry, right? I know that about myself. But the choice that I make next, how I react to that, how I respond to it, that is something you can choose to do. This is that picture that I was talking about that we've kind of seen before. So an event happens, your brain processes that event, and then, the gears get turning. Snap judgment, is it positive, negative, indifferent? And then how you react to that snap judgment, good, bad, or indifferent. So let's go through a few prompts. I want you to decide if you personally would have a positive or negative snap judgment of the event. At the end of each round, 1 to 2 people will share. Well, obviously, since this is a recorded lesson, nobody's going to share except for me. So we'll go through this. But as I go through this, I'll kind of hit it. I'll think about it for 5 seconds or so, and give people time to pause it and think how they would react, and then you can hit play and kind of see what I'm saying too. So if it's positive for you, you'll go to one side of the room. This is obviously if we were in person. If it's negative, you can go to the other side of the room. So prompt, you walk into a room and someone is watching a really intense TV show on full volume. There's lots of things that kind of go into how I would react to something like this. Was I in a bad mood? Was I in a good mood? Was I in the mood to sit down and watch a really intense TV show? If so, I would have a positive, reaction to that. If I wasn't in a good mood, if, things weren't going right or whatever, I might have a negative. So, but I would say in general, I would probably have a positive reaction to that. I enjoy really intense TV shows. I don't know if they mean intense, like, scary shows, but I enjoy scary shows. And on full volume, I like having the TV blasting during those shows. So I would say I would have a positive reaction to that. So the next prompt, your teacher assigns you a big project and you are going to work with 2 other people on it. What would you do? Would you be positive or negative? Would your instant reaction be like, oh yeah, that sounds fun, or oh no, that sounds miserable? So I think mine would be negative. I've gotten burned in the past, especially in college, because they still do that kind of garbage in college. I don't know why teachers do that, where they assign a group project. And the thing that irritates me the most is when you have a group and one person doesn't do their job, it affects your grade. That's what irritates me. So I had multiple projects in college where I had a group project and I literally did everything. I did everything in the entire project because I wanted to get an A. And so people didn't have to do anything. So I would probably have a negative reaction to that. You walk into your room and see that someone came in there to clean it without you knowing. I could see how both of these, how you could have a positive or a negative. So what do you think? You walk into your room, you see that someone came in there to clean it without you knowing. I think for me, I would be positive. I would be like, that's awesome. I know there's been lots of times in the past where my wife will, clean up our room and organize things and make it nice and neat. And I've always been super thankful and grateful for that. So I would say positive. I could see also the negative side of that though, especially being, a young adult, having somebody come into your private area, even if you don't have anything to hide. It's not like you got, drugs and, bad stuff and knives and guns and everything in your room. You could just have a normal room with just stuff in it. You're not trying to hide anything, but that still is kind of your area. That's a private area. So I could totally understand people choose the negative with that. Someone keeps messaging you jokes that you find funny while you're trying to pay attention. What do you think? You keep getting text messages with jokes that you find funny. So they're not offensive or anything. You find them funny, but you're trying to pay attention. I think I wish they had a third part. I don't know if you could choose the middle, but I would kind of be indifferent. I don't think I'd be happy that they were pulling my attention away, but I don't think I'd be mad, especially if the jokes were funny and I liked that person. I think I would kind of be in the middle. I wouldn't be angry or happy. I would just be like, okay. I think this might be the last one. I think there were five. Your best friend posts a silly picture of you on social media without you knowing. So again, we can clarify things. Your best friend posts a silly picture that you're okay with, right? That you're comfortable with, you don't mind it being posted on social media without you knowing. Well, then I'd be positive, right? That's okay. That's a funny picture. But I know I've had pictures posted in the past or people tag you in pictures where, it's not your best picture, your eyes are closed, you got a weird look on your face or whatever. So I think it just kind of depends on what the picture is. I would say if I didn't like the picture, I would have a negative reaction because I see that as almost like privacy. But if I did like the picture and I just thought it was funny, I thought it was cool, then I would say it was positive. So lots of both sides of the fence. I don't think I saw one prompt where it was like, hey, I would definitely be positive. There's no way you could talk me into how I would have a negative reaction to this. I could see both sides. Then your own prompts. So if we were in class, if we had more time, I think a lot of these lessons almost are built for like 45 minutes, but since we have 25 minutes, there's not a lot of time. So, but you could come up with an event, a snap judgment, and your emotional reaction. So kind of like mine, my event was some lady cut me off on the road. My snap judgment was angry, or I was angered. And then my emotional reaction was to tell her off. So, that's my example. If you want to come up with an example and share it when we meet on Tuesday or email it to me, I would love to kind of hear those and see those. Those are kind of cool. Same as before, again, if we were in class, we could take some volunteers and people do this, but I would love it if you want to come up with that event, that snap judgment, emotional reaction, and then email me and let me know what those are. Use any or all of these questions to have a discussion. So I'm just going to look through these and see what I think. Were you in a group, positive, negative, with fewer people at one point? Talk about how you felt. A lot of people react differently than you. So if we were able to have a discussion about that, right, you could see, hey, 95% of the class went to positive, only a few people went to negative. Can we talk about that? Is there a reason why that? What emotions have you been feeling recently? What are the main events that have caused them? What sort of snap judgments do you think are happening? That's something you can reflect on and kind of think about. Does knowing how your emotions get created change how you experience them? How you view other people experiencing it? Why or not? Why not? Again, another good question to kind of reflect on. What is one time recently that you felt like your emotions were a part of you making a decision that wasn't in line with your to be list? Talk about that. So that to be list, that's kind of referencing, something character strong lesson from, I don't know, a couple months ago or so. But if I remember correctly, it's something that you want to be like, I want to be more dependable. I want to be more responsible, something like that. So I can't think of anything offhand recently that would be against or for my to be list. So I'll leave that for you. If you want to kind of think through those 4 prompts and think about it and email me with anything, I'd be happy to read through it and respond. That'd be cool. So it's fair to care. I think this was the last character strong prompt that they were talking about. And then here is the next one, I believe. One day this week, try not talking to anyone. A day is kind of a long time to not talk to anyone, but maybe for a specific period of time. Try not talking to anyone, using a device, or watching anything, and just pay attention to your thoughts. How many minutes can you go? There is, there's people saying, that it's going around that a lot of kids, right? Kids, youth nowadays, can't be alone with just their thoughts. When you walk into a classroom, either kids are talking with other students or they're on their phone. Nobody's just really sitting there and just kind of, you know, thinking or whatever. It's kind of a lost art kind of self-reflecting and thinking about your day and thinking about decisions and things like that. It's almost like, they say, and I think adults are the same way, that a lot of people nowadays just have to be constantly entertained. And that's why, and I'm guilty of it too, if I have some downtime, I just take out my phone and watch a YouTube video or play a game or whatever. Um, so if I were to try to do that, I think I can go for a good amount of time. But again, I would be curious if anybody wants to take that challenge. Let me know how long you could go without calling somebody, playing on your phone, turning on music, watching TV. The music thing just reminds me of taking tests in class. I know every year I get students that want to take their phone out and listen to music during tests because they can't even go 30 minutes while they're taking a test without just some other type of input in their head, like a movie or like, music. So that's an interesting prompt. I like that. And then the end of the quote, have patience. All things are difficult before they become easy. Definitely true, right? I mean, you sit here and you think probably calculus is hard, but if you take, geometry, algebra 2, pre-calculus, you'll be prepped for calculus. And when you get there, it'll be easy. So don't, just kind of keep that in mind. Everything is difficult, no matter what age you're at, no matter what level you are in, until they become easy, until you take the steps necessary to make them become easy. So, all right, I think that is it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything, please email me, let me know, reach out to me. I'll be happy to answer them. Take care. We'll see you next Tuesday.